The Kh'zari Empire devises an invasion ***. Commander Vexlar gazed at the holographic projection with 6 eyes that blinked in uncoordinated irritation. The bluish image displayed a watery planet, the third orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Earth. Such a plain designation for such an uninspired place. "Are you informing me," he stated, his mandibles clicking with poorly hidden amusement, "that the denizens of this remote mudball genuinely maintain they can reject our stipulations? What exactly do they intend to challenge us with?" "Sharpened sticks," fleet tactician. Zorn Val fidgeted uneasily. In contrast to the commander, she had thoroughly reviewed the reports. "With deference, sir, our intelligence indicates the humans are more ingenious than anticipated." "Ingenious?" Commander Vexlar roared, striking the console with a clawed limb. The other officers within the command center recoiled. "The Kh'zari Empire has subjugated 47 star systems. We forced the Arcturian coalition to submit to our authority. We harvested the crystal forests of Betelgeuse Prime for energy. And you believe I ought to fret over the ingenuity of some bipedal mammals who've barely managed to exit their own atmosphere?" Zorn Val understood it was futile to debate. Vexlar had ascended the ranks not via tactical genius, but through ruthless ambition and familial ties. The Vexlar lineage had led Imperial fleets for 12 generations. Regrettably, capability wasn't always inherited. "Certainly not, Commander. I simply assumed you would desire all pertinent data before we commence the acquisition." "Acquisition? Oh no." Commander Vexlar's mandibles widened into what passed for a grin among his kind. The sight sent a shiver down Zorn Val's exoskeleton. "The Supreme Overlord has decreed that Earth will not be acquired. The humans possess something we require, yes, but they themselves are utterly disposable. We seize their resources, we seize their water, and subsequently, we transform their small blue sphere into an agreeable vacation spot for Imperial citizens." The command center filled with assenting, chittering noises and the tapping of exoskeletons. "Relay the ultimate warning to their leadership," Vexlar commanded, turning from the hologram with dismissive scorn. "Let's at least provide them the chance to capitulate before we eradicate their civilization. It presents better appearances before the Galactic Assembly." "Affirmative, Commander," Communications Officer Rekla replied, her appendages darting across the control interface. "Message composed, although I must mention our translators are still refining the subtleties of human tongues. There might be inaccuracies." "Who is concerned?" Vexlar exhaled. "They will comprehend the message when our battleships materialize in their orbit." Little did Commander Vexlar realize that this nonchalant disregard for translation precision would initiate a chain of disastrous miscalculations concerning humanity. Across the emptiness of space on that blue sphere the Kh'zari Empire had already mentally portioned like a succulent meal, General Eleanor Mason was enduring a remarkably difficult day, even preceding the aliens' arrival. "What is the meaning of the joint exercises with the Russians being postponed?" She snapped into her phone, marching through the Pentagon's passageways with such determination that junior officers nearly flattened themselves against the walls to avoid her path. "I don't care one bit about diplomatic sensitivities, Admiral. We require those hypersonic defense protocols tested by the following week, or—" The general's outburst was interrupted as every illumination in the structure abruptly faded. Her phone ceased functioning. Throughout the immense edifice, screens flickered, then uniformly showed the same message in angular text that somehow radiated patronization despite its alien typography. "Humans of Earth, your insignificant planet has been chosen for resource harvesting by the magnificent Kh'zari Empire. Your species is judged inadequate for preservation. Yield immediately to lessen suffering before your annihilation." Following General Mason's warning, for 3 complete seconds, absolute silence reigned in the Pentagon corridor. Then, General Mason executed an action that would subsequently be documented in both human and alien historical records as the turning point. She laughed. It wasn't a tense laugh nor a hysterical one. It was the type of laughter originating from someone who has observed the universe's ridiculousness and deemed it insufficient. It was a laugh that conveyed, You cannot be serious. Connect me with the president, she instructed her aide, who had already fetched a backup communication device. And inform the Joint Chiefs we are activating Case Omega. It seems all those wasteful defense allocations I've fought for have just become the most valuable investment in human history. Asterisk, asterisk, Earth responds. Asterisk, asterisk. 6 hours onward, General Mason stood. Before the rapidly convened Planetary Defense Council, a contingency group most of its members had genuinely never anticipated activating. Representatives from every significant military force on Earth had been conveyed to the protected installation deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Ladies and gentlemen, Mason began, addressing the assembly, her voice firm despite lacking sleep since the alien communication. First contact has transpired, and it is not the amicable scenario we anticipated. An alien empire identifying as the Kh'zari has essentially delivered an extermination ultimatum. The Chinese general to her right scoffed. Perhaps this is an intricate American deception to validate military buildup. Mason pinned him with a look that could have flash-frozen nitrogen. General Chan, I comprehend the doubt, but the identical message was received concurrently by every nation in their own languages. Our astronomers have identified a fleet of objects decelerating at our solar system's periphery. Objects defying every physical principle our science comprehends regarding propulsion and power generation. This is real. Before more objections could be voiced, the room's primary display activated. A creature materialized, vaguely insect-like, with numerous limbs and a chitinous exoskeleton of iridescent purple-black. When it spoke, its mandibles clicked and clacked, the speech translated by subtitles below. Humans, I am Ambassador Kh'zari of the Kh'zari Empire. Your species has been afforded the rare honor of direct communication prior to harvesting commencement. Our supreme overlord is feeling magnanimous. General Mason stepped forward. This is General Eleanor Mason of Earth's United Defense Forces. We obtained your initial communication, which we construe as a statement of hostile intentions. If this represents a misunderstanding, we invite peaceful discussion. If not, be aware that humanity shall defend itself. The alien emitted a sound the translation software failed to interpret, but which sounded unnervingly like laughter. Defend yourselves? With what? Our scans indicate your most sophisticated armaments are laughably rudimentary. Your most powerful warships wouldn't last 10 seconds against even our reconnaissance craft. Perhaps, Mason answered coolly, but we advise against assessing a species' potential solely from long-distance scans. Oh, but we have researched your species thoroughly, the ambassador chittered. Internally fractious, environmentally ruinous. You cannot even attain solidarity on your own world. The sole notable aspect about humans is your utter lack of notability. The galaxy will scarcely register your passing. Mason's features stayed impassive, but those acquainted with her recognized the perilous glint in her eyes. If we are so unremarkable, why engage in communication at all? Simply strike and conclude the matter. The ambassador's mandibles clicked swiftly. As stated, our supreme overlord feels generous. Surrender presently, and we shall allow 10% of your populace to survive as a labor force. Resist, and annihilation is guaranteed. General Mason drew herself up to her full stature. Though the alien seemed much larger in the video feed, something in her bearing caused several individuals in the room to instinctively retreat. Ambassador Kh'zari, kindly relay this message to your supreme overlord. She paused, allowing the translation software time to catch up. You desire war? We shall provide you with war. Humanity does not yield to aggressors, whether originating from this planet or elsewhere. We have confronted extinction-level dangers throughout our existence, some natural, some self-inflicted, and we persist. If your empire covets Earth, you will need to wrench it from our cold, deceased hands. She leaned closer, her voice lowering to a near whisper that somehow conveyed more menace than a shout. And I assure you, we will render that process so agonizing, so expensive, that generations of Kh'zari will learn our planet's name as a warning. The ambassador's 6 eyes blinked in what could have been astonishment. Such boldness from a species on the verge of being snuffed out, Kh'zari finally retorted. Your resistance has been recorded and will only make Earth's subjugation more gratifying. Prepare for eradication. The connection severed. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the Russian defense minister remarked, "That proceeded smoothly, da." His somber jest broke the strain, drawing forced chuckles. General Mason turned towards the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we possess roughly 72 hours until their fleet arrives at Earth. Every second is vital. It is time to initiate the Prometheus protocols." The French representative looked puzzled. "The asterisk? What asterisk protocols?" Mason offered a slight smile. "You didn't suppose all those black budget initiatives were solely for constructing superior bombs, did you?" Aboard the Kh'zari command vessel, Ambassador Krexnar reported to Commander Vexlar with barely restrained eagerness. "The humans rejected our conditions precisely as foreseen. Their representative was especially graphic in her defiance." Commander Vexlar lounged on his command throne. "Excellent. The Supreme Overlord favors it when species resist. It legitimizes the total harvesting procedures." Fleet tactician Zorn Val cleared her throat tubes nervously. "Commander, if I might... Something regarding the human reply troubles me." "What is it now, Zorn Val? Additional worries about their ingenuity?" Vexlar's tone was saturated with ridicule. "Not quite, sir. It is their self-assurance. Our historical archives indicate that when species face overwhelming technological dominance, they generally exhibit fear, panic, or desperate supplication. The humans demonstrated none of these reactions. Indeed, their military chief seemed almost keen for hostilities." Commander Vexlar waved a dismissive claw. "Primitive species frequently resort to bombast when confronting superior might. It is a psychological defense mechanism, nothing beyond that." "Possibly," Zornval persisted, "but I advise we perform more comprehensive scans before deploying our primary fleet. Something seems inconsistent." "Your prudence is acknowledged, tactician," Vexlar stated with exaggerated tolerance. "However, the invasion schedule has already received approval from Imperial Command. We observe no significant orbital defenses, no energy readings suggesting advanced weaponry, and their spacecraft are laughably delicate. The initial wave will deploy in 30 cycles as scheduled." Zorn Val inclined her head in acquiescence, defeated. "Yes, Commander." As she went back to her post, Zorn Val could not dispel the sensation they were overlooking something vital. The human reaction matched none of the predictive simulations. Either they were utterly mistaken about their own potential, or they possessed knowledge the Kh'zari lacked. Asterisk, asterisk, the attack begins. Asterisk, asterisk. As the alien fleet neared Earth, Commander Vexlar observed with contentment as the invasion contingent maneuvered into formation. 500 warships arrayed in the customary Kh'zari assault pattern, a three-dimensional spearhead crafted to breach planetary defenses and secure orbital dominance swiftly. "Commence the initial wave," he instructed. "Target their military sites, communication hubs, and administrative centers. Standard pacification protocol." The first squadrons of Kh'zari fighters plunged towards Earth's atmosphere, armaments ready and energy shields fully powered. Commander Vexlar allowed himself a brief moment of expectation, another triumph to append to his distinguished service record. Maybe this would finally secure his advancement to the Imperial High Command. His agreeable daydream was shattered by a desperate communication from the foremost attack squadron. "Command! We are meeting opposition!" Vexlar blinked, puzzled. "Opposition? What sort of opposition could they possibly mount?" "Unidentified weapon signatures. They don't correspond to anything in our archives. We have lost Alpha Squadron. Bravo Squadron reports severe damage. They are everywhere." The command center descended into turmoil as additional reports streamed in. Vexlar gazed at the tactical projection in astonishment as, one after another, scores of red markers signifying his fighters vanished. "Impossible," he murmured. "Where did they acquire such armaments?" Asterisk, asterisk, Earth reveals its true power. Asterisk, asterisk. Tactician Zorn. Val was already scrutinizing the incoming information. "Sir, it seems the humans possess some type of energy-based defensive grid we failed to detect. And they have spacecraft launching from concealed lunar installations." "Lunar installations? We surveyed their moon. There was nothing present. Apparently our surveys were insufficient, Zornval responded, successfully suppressing any trace of "I warned you" from her tone. The humans must have engineered some form of cloaking system. On the primary view screen, the situation worsened before their very eyes. Human craft, sleek, dark vessels bearing no similarity to the awkward rockets the Kh'zari had noted, emerged in swarms from behind Earth's moon. They maneuvered with incredible nimbleness, outclassing the Kh'zari fighters despite their supposedly lesser technology. "How can this be?" Vexlar exclaimed. "Where did they obtain such capabilities?" On Earth, General Mason stood within the Global Defense Command Center, observing as humanity played its full hand for the initial time. Around her, military commanders from a dozen nations orchestrated the retaliation with skilled coordination. "Artemis Squadron, execute flanking pattern Delta," she directed. "Orbital defense platforms, engage their support craft. Let's demonstrate to these insects the consequences of menacing humanity." The enormous view screen displayed the battle progressing in real time. For generations, the globe's governments had upheld the pretense of restricted space abilities and merely satisfactory military tech, all while channeling trillions into the clandestine budget programs that yielded the ships and weaponry now being unveiled. The Prometheus protocols, named for the Titan, who gifted fire to mortals, had served as humanity's ultimate safeguard ever since the Roswell incident in 1947 affirmed the reality of extraterrestrial life. Earth's principal powers had quietly concurred on a single point. They might squabble amongst themselves, but they would offer a unified defense against any extraterrestrial danger. "General, the Kh'zari fleet is reorganizing," her tactical officer announced. "They are withdrawing to defensive formations." "Good," Mason acknowledged. "Launch the Nemesis warheads." Asterisk, asterisk. The counterattack. Asterisk, asterisk. Aboard the Kh'zari command vessel, emergency alerts sounded as Commander Vexlar tried to grasp the catastrophe developing around him. "Situation update," he roared. "First wave devastated, sir," Communications Officer Rekla reported, her voice strained with anxiety. 70% casualties. Second wave reports unidentified energy signatures targeting their formations. "Withdraw them," Vexlar commanded. "Pull everything back into defensive positions around the command ships. We must reorganize and reevaluate." "Sir!" the sensor officer exclaimed, genuine terror in his voice. "New weapon signatures identified. Multiple launch sites from the planet's surface." On the tactical display, scores of minuscule projectiles ascended from Earth. To Kh'zari sensors, they looked primitive. Basic ballistic missiles presenting no danger to their sophisticated shielding. Tactician Zorn Val, however, observed something disturbing. "Those are not standard weapons," she stated urgently, analyzing the data. "They are emitting quantum displacement signatures." "What does that signify?" Vexlar pressed. He received his reply moments later as the premier Nemesis warhead detonated close to a formation of Kh'zari cruisers. There was no typical blast. Instead, a bubble of warped space-time expanded outward. When it contacted the alien vessels, they simply vanished. The very particles of their structure were torn asunder and dispersed across dimensional planes. "By the Supreme Overlord," Vexlar whispered, "what variety of abominations are these humans?" In the Earth Defense Command Center, General Mason observed with stern contentment as the Nemesis warheads performed their function, the result of decades spent reverse engineering technology from downed alien craft, merged with humanity's own relentless ingenuity. "General," her aide murmured quietly, "the Kh'zari commander is asking for communications." Mason nodded. "Patch them through." Commander Vexlar's image materialized on the display. The arrogant conqueror was gone. His exoskeleton had lost its vibrant luster, and his mandibles twitched with unease. "General Mason," he started, his translator struggling to mask the stress in his voice. "It appears there has been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding, Commander," Mason retorted calmly. "You threatened to annihilate our species. We responded correspondingly." "Perhaps our translation software communicated our intentions inaccurately," Vexlar ventured. The Kh'zari Empire desires peaceful coexistence with... Spare me, Mason interrupted. Your peaceful fleet just attempted to reduce our cities to rubble. Luckily for you, we confined our retaliation solely to military objectives. Asterisk. We Asterisk are not the monsters in this situation. Vexlar's compound eyes seemed to constrict. How did you obscure such technology from our surveys? Your species demonstrated no indication of quantum mechanics proficiency or sophisticated propulsion methods. For the first instance in their dialogue, General Mason smiled. It was not a comforting look. That is the characteristic of humans, Commander. We excel at strategic patience. Your empire has subjugated 47 systems. Well done. But while you were occupied intimidating other civilizations, we were getting ready. We identified your reconnaissance vessels decades past. We have been observing you, researching you, and anticipating this moment. That is impossible, Vexlar protested. Our stealth technology relies on warping light around a gravitational field. Mason completed his thought. Effective against most detection techniques, but it leaves a unique distortion in background cosmic radiation. We noticed it in 1986. By the time your covert observation outposts were set up in our outer solar system, we were already dissecting your technology. The alien commander appeared to visibly shrink. What occurs next? Next, Mason leaned forward. You gather what remains of your fleet and go back to your empire. You inform them that Earth is prohibited territory. You inform them that if a solitary Kh'zari vessel enters our solar system again without explicit permission, today's events will appear like a cordial welcome compared to our subsequent response. She paused, letting her statement register. And then you inform your supreme overlord that humanity is herewith asserting wardship status over the 7 closest star systems to Earth, encompassing those you have previously subjugated. We will be arriving to liberate them imminently. Absurd! Vexlar sputtered. The Empire will perform precisely as we dictate, Mason cut in, or we shall carry the conflict to you. And believe me, Commander, you haven't witnessed even a portion of our capabilities when we are genuinely making an effort. Asterisk, asterisk. A new galactic order, asterisk, asterisk. The communication terminated, leaving Commander Vexlar gazing at an empty screen amidst the wreckage of his career, his aspirations, and quite possibly the genesis of the end for the Kh'zari Empire itself. 1 year later, tactician Zorn Val, now promoted to fleet commander following Vexlar's disgrace and execution, stood before the Imperial Strategic Council, presenting her conclusive report on what had become termed the Earth Catastrophe. In summary, she addressed the gathered Kh'zari leadership, our basic error stemmed from our viewpoint. We presumed technological progress adhered to a foreseeable, linear trajectory. We assessed the humans based on their overt infrastructure, their public capacities, and their seeming divisions. We neglected to contemplate that a species might intentionally hide their actual power, might prioritize defensive ingenuity over territorial gain, or might unify when facing external dangers despite internal strife. The Supreme Overlord, a colossal Kh'zari whose exoskeleton displayed the ceremonial gold markings of 10,000 conquered worlds, leaned forward. And your counsel, Commander Zorn Val? She stood taller, aware her subsequent words could signify either her advancement or her demise. The Kh'zari Empire must petition for peace with the humans, not from a stance of frailty but from a stance of prudence. They have now freed 5 of our prior subject worlds. Our assaults against their military have proved futile. Their technology persists in advancing at a velocity our scientists cannot fathom. Unrest spread through the council chamber, but Zorn Val continued firmly. More significantly, they have commenced distributing their technology to other species. The alliance they are forging could, in time, contest even our complete military strength. Therefore, I advise a diplomatic approach while such an approach remains viable. The Supreme Overlord remained silent for an extended interval. Then, to universal astonishment, he started to laugh. A grating, clicking noise that reverberated off the chamber's walls. How droll, he eventually remarked. For 12,000 cycles the Kh'zari have conquered, never bargained, never yielded. And now we are counseled to pursue peace with mammals who, until recently, were scarcely capable of departing their own atmosphere? Zorn Val braced, anticipating the death sentence that surely awaited such derision. Instead, the Supreme Overlord stood from his throne. And yet, your counsel is sound. The humans have achieved something no other species has accomplished in our empire's history. They have imparted humility upon us. They have demonstrated that our method is not the sole method. Perhaps the time has come for the Kh'zari to develop beyond conquest alone. He addressed the convened council. Assemble a diplomatic delegation to Earth. We shall propose terms of mutual non-aggression and acknowledgement of their wardship assertions. But more crucially, his voice lowered to an almost respectful tone, we shall observe and we shall learn. For if one thing is definite in this galaxy, it is that we have not witnessed the finality of humanity's surprises. As the council chamber cleared, Zorn Val stayed, gazing at the holographic image of the small blue planet that had altered everything. She remembered General Mason's words from their final exchange, words that had perplexed her then but now resonated with deep wisdom. The universe is excessively vast for adversaries, Commander, the human had stated. We would prefer trading associates over targets for conquest. Keep that in mind when your empire determines its next move. Zorn Val had never grasped the human notion of smiling, but as she considered a future where Kh'zari and humans might one day cooperate as allies instead of foes, she discovered her mandibles arranging themselves into a rough imitation of the expression regardless. The Empire had mocked humanity right until the instant humans imparted a fresh variety of cosmic modesty. Now, the galaxy waited with bated breath to observe what these extraordinary beings would undertake next.